ACLU, American Civil Liberties Union. How can I help you? Good morning. I'm not all that compassionate by nature, but I'm passionate about rights that these humans have, because rights segue into that dimension of fairness. And so a lot of the jobs that I have seem to have this dimension of leveling the playing field and making sure that people are obeying the rules that allow them to conduct themselves in a fair way. I guess that is an extension of something in my personality that cherishes that human dimension of it ain't fair, and wanting to correct that and ensure that you get your fair shake. There's at least a twofold dimension to being an ACLU counselor. One is a public relations one. We are the conduit between the public and the lawyers. They don't speak to lawyers unless they get through us. 9 out of 10 times I'm saying no. And even on the 10th time I'm saying maybe. The other aspect of it, of course, is when you get a caller who has something which might attract the legal staff in such a way that we will get involved. And those become even more gratifying as a counselor because you feel you're doing something a little bit more tangible than redirecting people or just listening to them. This can be something you do as a caring member of the San Francisco or California or America or the world on behalf of people who ought to have their basic human rights observed.
I'm Cuban American. I come from a family that has a history of back in Cuba before the revolution, of my mother's side especially having fought for civil rights, and my grandfather was in a progressive government that lasted 100 days because it was overthrown by Fulgencio Batista, the dictator that Castro overthrew. So I've always been brought up with, by my parents with, ideals of individual rights and the rule of law and all of that sort of thing. So individual freedom has meant a lot to me from that perspective. What's good about the ACLU is the ACLU has always defended individual rights, and the freedom of expression and political freedom, whether it's on the right or on the left, popular or not popular. My contribution is split between the Frontline project, which is the gay and lesbian and transgender rights project, and just the general fund. I mean, I guess I give to the Frontline project because I'm gay, but frankly, I've been with my partner for 25 years. We're not married. We don't want to be married. It's not our thing. But I think people that want to should be able to. I'm extremely wary of any attempts to curtail individual freedoms and civil rights, and the ACLU is always on guard against that. We have a constitutional system that is designed to protect those values.
I would definitely consider myself an activist. When we have an issue that we really take a stance on, I love being out there and really trying to inform people about it. Really, anyone who believes something and does anything, whether it's just talk to your friend to convince them, is an activist. A year ago in November, with the election year, we worked really heavily with the ACLU of Northern California and our campus coalition to vote down Proposition 4 and 8. people, students, community members, people who had never picked up a phone before were calling people to tell them to vote no. And I think that the ACLU was a huge part of that. And being on campus was exciting during that time because it was very exciting to see everyone coming together to really come out in support of an issue. And unfortunately, it passed, but I think that overall it was a really good time where activists and people who had never done activism before came together and tried to defeat something they felt strongly about. I think that that's something to be proud of. There will always be people who don't agree and don't agree that, anyone should be able to marry the person that they love. And there will always be people that don't agree with the woman's right to choose. There will always be people that don't agree. And so you can't let those people stand in the way of the greater picture.